Okay, I'm doing this mostly for Delora. I just got back from seeing this Wonder Woman movie, which I don't know how many years we've been waiting for it. I don't know, 2 years or 3 years, but it was really good. And yeah, I cried. I have never sat through a movie and cried the whole way through it. I haven't cried in a while. I used to cry like constantly. Like last year, that first year that Delora was taken totally out of my life, I cried all the time. And I haven't cried so much lately. But I do think it's good to cry, and I think it gets some of those release some of the stress and everything. But anyway, when I went, and I've been waiting to see this movie, and I thought I would, because it came out in June, and I thought I would be able to go see it with Delora, but that's not going to happen. It'll probably be out on DVD by the time I get to see Delora again. I was just thinking, you know, I might never get to see her again. You know, I could die before I see her again. And it's one reason I'm trying to document my, you know, when she's older, I want this to be part of the history of you know, our family history, is this ordeal we've been put through, this war we're waging. I want her to know what I was doing and how I was feeling and what I was thinking while she's been separated from me. And the order protection deal, and then these gag orders on me, that, you know, I'm not supposed to make any comments, derogatory comments about Delora's dad. And I really changed my focus. I mean, at first I was really annoyed with him, but as I got deeper and deeper into the system and seeing how it was working, and I've been through this over and over again. It might just be a coping mechanism for me, but I have shifted my focus off of what he's done, and I'm laying all the blame on the system and on the corrupt judges, on the corrupt lawyers, on all these outside parties who know nothing about me and my family and my daughter, but they think they know better than I do what's best for my family, and think they have a right to impose their will. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. I'm kind of emotional. But yeah, I don't think they have a right to tell me how to live my life, because this is my life. I'm the one that will have to deal with the consequences of my choices, not them. So if I am forced to let them make my decisions for me, I have to deal with the consequences of their decisions. That's not right. They walk into the courtroom, they say, oh, we think this is what should be done. And then the judge says, okay, you got to do it this way. And then they're not in the picture anymore. They don't care. They will never be affected, and they think they probably will never know how, what the results were of their control over the lives of these families. I'm talking about the judges. I'm talking about the guardian ad litems. I'm talking about teachers, Casa, counselors, whoever, the guardian ad litem in my first custody trial, Charlene Pimack, whoever she was talking about, when she asked me what credentials or qualifications I had to usurp the authority, that's the term she used. What qualified me to usurp the authority of the Casa, her, the guardian ad litem, I don't know who all was involved at that point. I guess that was it. Teachers. Why should I let the teachers control my life and my parenting decisions? I shouldn't. They have no authority. They're the ones who are usurping my authority. I don't even know why I went off on that rant. Well, oh yeah, I want to document this. My experience being separated away from her. So she'll know, and my grandkids will know, everybody will know, anybody who's interested can find out what this experience has been like for me and what I've done. And yeah, so this video is mostly for her. I guess I am being heard and seen. Okay. What I wanted to say about the Wonder Woman movie, other than, yeah, is it came on and it started with the origin story about how Wonder Woman came to get involved with helping people or whatever. And it had the little girl. It had Diana as a little girl. And she reminded me so much of Delora. And it's been so long since I'm going to cry. It has been so long since I've had any contact with her. I would have to I think it's 18 weeks, but it's been so long. I'm losing count. I can't even keep track of it. It's 17 or 18 weeks. And but when I saw this girl, and she reminded me so much of Delora. That's one reason I was thinking about how these strangers that think they can know better than me. I told in my first custody trial, I told the judge, I said, Malcolm Gladwell in his, what was that book? Was it The Outliers? One of his books, I think it might have been Outliers. And he said, you spend 10,000 hours working on something, and you pretty much could be like the expert. You'd be an expert. You would spend 10,000 hours. And I said, I have spent over 10,000 hours with my daughter, interacting with her, observing her, getting to know her, helping to shape her, helping her to, figure out her personality and how she ticks, and what her strengths are, and how to best help her achieve her potential. And I did it with all my kids, because I've been able to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I was their primary caregiver, and I was blessed to not have to let somebody else raise my kids for me. Her, and her father, my older kids, Delora's dad and my ex-husband, they're good fathers and have always been involved in the kids' lives, and that's a good thing. But I was the one who was their primary caregiver, which I'm the mom, and I just, that's how it worked out for me. And I was glad that I was able to do that until 3 years ago, when they started taking my parenting time away for Delora, and I've 2 years almost completely been cut out, all contact with her. I've still only seen her only had 7.5 hours of supervised contact with her this year, and I saw her had zero contact, direct or indirect, between June of 2015, June 2016, since June 30th, well, since a year ago yesterday, I've spent less than 50 hours with her, and none of it private. We haven't had the luxury of having a mother-daughter conversation without somebody listening in on every word, taking notes, or our second to last visit, somebody videoing us. It's really been horrible, and I want Delora to know it's been horrible, and I want her to know I'm not blaming her dad. I said this before, he might be driving the train, but he wouldn't get anywhere without the power that he's been given to control, to cut me out of Delora's life through the court. So it's the court. The court's the bad guys, not Delora's dad. And she's always known. They have made so many lies, false accusations, misrepresentations. I have never harmed her, ever. They have never shown. I mean, they'll make these vague references or something that say, well, and even the appeals court, even though Sarah Rice in her appellee brief said that, well, yeah, the judge did make specific findings of harm, which she's supposed to do that. If she's going to, cut me out of my daughter's life, she's supposed to have made specific findings of harm. She didn't do that. So the appeals court just pretends, oh, well, it's in there somewhere. I need to know. If I have harmed my child, I want to know. I want to know what I did, honestly. But I have no reason to think I've harmed her. My daughter has no reason, because I've asked her, have I ever harmed you? I really want to know. Not when I asked her that second to last visit, I asked her, and then I asked, has your dad ever harmed you? And I thought she was going to say no, but she brings up how she sometimes she's grumpy at school because she couldn't sleep, because she's sad and worried and misses her mom, and wants her dad to let her see him, come back home for like we used to have it, where we had our parenting time split. So the way she answered my question, it seemed to me like she felt harmed or negatively impacted by her father's actions. And I sincerely asked her, I asked her, I said, well, what about, because her dad didn't like me spanking her, and I said, well, what about those times when you were in church, and sometimes I took you out and spanked you 2 or 3 times during church because you were being disruptive. And I said, remember when I used to take you out and I'd take you to the back room and I would spank your butt? Did you think that harmed you? And when you were saying, no, please don't, I'll stop. And I said, too late, I have to punish you. I said, did that harm you? Did you feel like that harmed you? And she said, this is an 8-year-old child, closer to 8 than even 8.5. She said, no, that was more of a lesson. Which is exactly right. That's what I felt like. But that's the worst thing I can think of. Hurting her, I never injured her, but she didn't like it. But that's the thing about the corporal punishment, the way I use the corporal punishment, she knew I did it out of love. And her dad said he wanted me, he tried to get an injunction against corporal punishment, and he told me, if you don't stop spanking her, and it was working great. And, you know, the pediatrician says, oh, spanking doesn't work. And Dr. Berryman's like, oh, spanking. And I'm like, the way I did it, me and my daughter, it worked amazingly well. And like it's supposed to, because we did it right. And then he told me that if I didn't stop spanking, he would call DCS and tell the judge at DCS that I was beating Delora to take out my frustration against him because he took me to court. And I told the judge that, because it's a lie. It's a lie. And so Judge Calloway knew that, and she did not stop me from. She denied his motion. She denied his request, but she did order. She says, "Well, I'm not going to enjoin the mother from corporal punishment, but I would make these other suggestions." And one of her suggestions was, if you put her in her room, don't let her have any toys. But why? Don't tell me how to put my child in timeout. You know, what I was doing was working. They had zero evidence that it wasn't working. And why fix what's not broken? And why did I go off talking about that? Let me get back to this movie. So I see this girl. Oh yeah, that's how it was, because I know my daughter. I know how she ticks. I know her like nobody does. I know what she needs. I know how to meet those needs better than anybody on the face of this earth. And the proof is that the people, these third parties who she's been entrusted to, the counselors, the school, the assistant principal at the school, the guidance counselor at school, she has fallen all to pieces, having me cut out of her life, and the way their better way, supposedly their better way, their best interest of the child way, has ended up with my child being emotionally disturbed. She's depressed. She's anxious. And it's just unbelievable that they've let this go on and on and on. And nobody is trying. Connie regularly. She's doing what she can, but it's just delay. And I really do believe in October she's going to make them do what they're supposed to do. Yes, I did serve subpoenas pro se. Yeah. And I don't know who left that message, but I can talk to you about that later. So in the movie, I see this girl, and so much like Delora, and I posted this picture of Delora when she was on my Facebook page, where she's maybe 2, 3, and we were outside in the front yard playing, and she was like acting like I was a bad guy, and my sister and I call her this Tinkerbell Wonder Woman, and she's wearing her green frog boots, and then she's wearing her green Tinkerbell costume on top of her clothes, and she's coming after, she's charging, and that's Delora's got a very strong will. I would never try to train that out of her. I think that's a strength. I think God put that in her, and you channel that, and I've got a lot of the same personality, strong will, and it's probably kept me alive, and I think that's something, when you have your kids, you've got to figure out what their strengths are and how to bring the best out of them. And I was doing that. We were working on some things, but she had such a good life, very well balanced life. She was very happy before they disrupted everything. This movie is, you've got this little girl, and what struck me is the Amazons. They were like middle-aged women. They weren't like 20-year-olds. They were. And Robin Wright, I was like, man, she's so old, because I remember her from The Princess Bride, which was many, many years ago. And I'm like, she's so old. And I look at me, I'm like, I'm so old. And I, my skin on my arms, I'm like, oh, I'm getting old lady skin. And, but that's life. And, so I think about the Amazons. I think about the women, and I saw God all through this movie. And I was seeing it through the eyes as a Christian, and I don't know if somebody who isn't a Christian would make the same connections and be affected by it the same way I was. I was affected on a bunch of different levels. I was affected because seeing it, God all through it, and also seeing, these women, no men. I mean, I've been single for, I think I got divorced in 2002, so 15 years. I've been single, 15 years, and focused on doing what I'm best at, taking care of kids, and yeah, but I'm old. These women were all, I was glad there were so many old women, and but they were doing what they're good at, and doing what they were called to do, created to do. And I want to share this book. I keep thinking I want to get this on it because I might die before I see Delora. It's kind of morbid, but this book, is it backwards? The Power of Motherhood by Nancy Campbell. She's got a ministry. It's called Above Rubies. And this book is this. I was introduced to this book by a redheaded friend of my family's. We've known them since I was like 14. She died when she was 52 years old. I have outlived so many people, or lived longer than I've known so many people who've died with kids, minor children, that have died before my age. I'm 51. And so Loretta Lay Coates she had 4 kids, and I think her son was he was young. I think he was maybe early teens, and I think her second youngest might have been 17 or 18. So she died when she was 52, colon cancer, and it was like real sudden. So yeah, I think about that a lot. But anyway, she introduced me to that book, and in the Wonder Woman movie, there was some. And then when I see this, I think about all the destruction, the war. Is like all this suffering, and then I just relate to all the suffering that I've experienced and that I've seen other families experience because of the war on families. That movie was World War I. I think the comic book was World War II, but I think the movie was World War I. And but yeah, I mean, there is a war on families in America, and I don't want to spoil the movie for people who don't like their movies spoiled, but there's a lot of talk about the people. It's not the God of War, or like it's not like the devil that causes. No, I don't know exactly. That's maybe not exactly right. But it's people's choices. People choose to hurt each other. People choose to be self-centered. People choose to. This is a big one, because I think about why are our families suffering so badly? Why is our society so messed up right now? And I really think it goes back to not following the plan, because we've got, our Creator gave us an instruction book. And when you follow the instructions that are given by the Creator, things go better. Things work like they were designed to work. So when our Creator gives us these directions, I'm not old at 51, but I was going to say too, I got pregnant at 41, and my mother was like, you're going to die, you're never going to live through this, you're too old to have kids. But there was some research that shows that if you conceive naturally after the age of 40, there's statistically a greater chance that you will live to be 100. So maybe I've got 49 more years left. But anyway, so when I think about our state of affairs for the families in our country, I really think that women, I think women should have choices. And we always have choices. And that's one thing I want Delora to know is you always have a choice. You may not be able to control your circumstances or the way other people treat you or react to you. Yeah, your circumstances. That would include other people. But you can always choose. You always have a choice. You can choose your attitude. You can choose your behavior. You always have a choice. And you might not know which. Sometimes it might be a hard decision, but overwhelmingly, if you follow the instructions of the Creator, you will be able to make better choices that will tend to work out better. And and one thing I've been working with Delora's friends, and this is what I was working with Delora, is self-control and controlling your emotions, and focusing on other people instead of just on yourself, because I really think people are happier if they're focusing on, you got to take care of yourself. God wants us to take care of ourselves, but if you focus on other people more than you do yourself, I think that's healthier. Focus on serving God first, and then serving others, and then if you're third, that's my personal opinion. So, and that's what I tell my kids, and that's what I tell the kids I'm working with. But it's really important to control your attitude, and if you can control your emotions and your thoughts, then it's easy to control your behavior. But if you're I'm not being hypocritical saying, well, we need, because I think ideally, you have a mother or father, get married, be committed to each other for life, give your kids a stable home, be the grandparents that can support the children, the grandchildren, and just, that's the family, that's the ideal family according to God. Of course, you have, people die, and what is that? Fruit fly or something. But that's like the standard. That's like the ideal that God set up. God created the families. And, marriage, husband, wife, father, mother. So he created that. And what we see in the last 50 years or so is people going their own way, pursuing their own interests, meeting their own, trying to meet their own needs, being self-sufficient, not relying on God, not being interdependent with your family or your community. Of course, now people rely on the government, but then when you do that, can have a lot of unintended consequences, negative consequences. So I think the ideal was something that shouldn't have been. I think it should still be the ideal, and just for a lot of reasons. And it's really unfortunate that I've been a single mom. Well, I've been single and a mom, but I haven't had to raise my kids by themselves because they've been blessed. I've been blessed to have their fathers involved. So it's not like I'm raising a child by myself. I've never done that. I don't think they would have turned out. Well, yeah, we see how Delora's turning out with just one parent, and it's not good. And you'd think that, and the courts don't even support that. And parents, married couples, the economy is so skewed. It's so hard to make a living with one income and support a family with one income. And if you stay home and take care of your children, a lot of people look down on you like you're some kind of a slacker. And when Callie, my older daughter, she was applying for financial aid for school. She went to a private school. And they said, if you're not working, we're going to assume that you could be working unless you're I was on disability. But we're gonna assume that you would have access to $30,000 a year if you chose to work, and you weren't working by choice. So with that mentality, it's like everything is against the family, and you've got other people raising the kids. So many people from the time the kids are 6 weeks old. Yeah, 6 weeks old. They're in the care of strangers for 50 hours a week, daytime hours, best time of the day, and then there's this rotation. Okay, I used to work in daycare. I spent 7 years working in childcare, and turnover is really high. And Delora went to preschool. My older kids never went to preschool. Delora went from the time she was 2 till the time she was 5.5, and I just counted that. I would have rather have kept her, but her dad, I just said, if you want those 2 days to be your parenting days, because I've got 185 days, you've got 180, so if you want to count Tuesday and Thursday as your parenting days, and you want to put her in, you choose to have these third parties care for her instead of you or instead of me, then that's what we did. But when she was in the 3-year-old class, she changed teachers like 3, and this was a expensive private preschool, and she had like 3 primary teachers in the 3rd grade class. The turnover was so high, so that's a lot of disruption. So I think when you take kids, and I am into attachment parenting, and that I would not try to tell somebody else how to raise their kids. Because like I said earlier, your decision is your choices. You're the one that deals with consequences. I don't want to make your decisions because I don't know your strengths. I don't know your personality. I don't know your circumstances. You're the best parent. You're the best person. The parents are the best person to make the decisions. And there's parents who, I was attachment parenting. I was very relaxed. I was very, following the needs of the child. My educational philosophy is very much a childless. It's like Montessori really appeals to me about how it's, it's a lot of freedom and following the child instead of like rigidly. I never put my kid, I fed them when they were, we had, mealtime. But when they were babies, I didn't like feed them on a 2-hour schedule. I fed them whenever they're hungry. And we didn't have a nap. They slept when they were sleepy and ate when they were hungry. And that was my way of doing it. And there's other people who would go nuts without having a very structured day. And it makes me nuts if somebody tries to put a lot of, confine me in ways it doesn't feel right. So we need to respect each other's differences, and the court doesn't do that. And I was looking at, if you Google like ludicrous reasons why mothers have lost custody, it is so arbitrary. When you have outsiders making the decisions for you, they'll always compare. They'll hold you to their standards. They'll assume their way is the right way, and if you're not making the same choices they would make, you're wrong. So if your house is too clean, too minimalist, and the person evaluating you is the opposite, they'll count that against you. They'll say, oh, there's not enough toys, there's not enough furniture. If your house is too, they might say, oh, she's germaphobic or something, and make a negative out of it. And then the other way around, if you're have a lot of stuff like me, and I like stuff. I like a lot of materials, learning materials, and lots of books, hundreds of books. And then if you got somebody that doesn't like clutter, they can't tolerate clutter. Not that it's, courts have already shown there's nothing inherently harmful about clutter, and that's no reason to snatch somebody's kids away. So, these people, they want you to conform to how they are, because we're all individuals. So you could have 5 different people coming into your life, and chances are they're not going to all be the same way. An example is the Casa. There's a Casa and a Casa supervisor, and there was this discussion over whether Delara's dad was throwing her toys away. If she was misbehaving, he'd throw one of her toys away. And one of these 2 people thought that was bad, and the other one thought it was okay. So it's all arbitrary, and it's dangerous, and they're not supposed, the courts are not supposed to be letting strangers they're not supposed to be imposing their philosophies or lifestyles on you unless what you're doing is harming a child. And they don't feel like they have to prove that. They'll just say, oh, I found that it's in the child's best interest to do something the opposite of the way the mother's doing it, and if the mother doesn't want to do it the way we tell her we think she should be doing it, then we'll just take the child away. So you can either be forced into this box where you can't be yourself, be relaxed, give the best of your, let your children enjoy what you're best at, because somebody's making you conform to what they think you should be doing. It's so unhealthy. It's unhealthy for the parents. It's unhealthy for the kids. But the family relationship, Americans have shown the courts, the government, whatever, they have shown most people don't value marriage, they don't value home, they don't value, the family unit, they don't value it. Because look at the divorce. Look at the parents who choose. Some people have to. They don't have any choice but to work. Some people don't have any choice but to work 2 or 3 jobs, and they're lucky if they see their kids 30 minutes a day. But a lot of people do that by choice. It's a lifestyle choice they want. It's not nurturing a family. The families are the building blocks of our country. And the mothers, it's the mothers. A lot of people say, well, it's the men, patriarchal, whatever. But, when I look in the Bible, Lois and Eunice, Timothy's mother Eunice, and Timothy's grandmother Lois, they were women. They were very strong women. And they actually, it's recorded in the Bible that Apollos was a man. They took him aside and brought the best out of him. Showed him he was pretty good, but they showed him a better, he was even better when they finished with him. And I am a nurturing mother person. I'm just a nurturing person. I just like, how could I help you, or what can I do for you? And I'm empathetic, and I just emotional, and I'm nurturing, and I really focus on nurturing the kids, and that's my huge strength. That's what they've taken from me. They won't let me do what I'm best at. So, so I was thinking about these Amazons and strong women. In the movie, I think I gotta look up who wrote this screenplay, because it's like, so you have the men, and the men screwed up, so it's like the women came in and saved the day. and it's, I probably need to watch the movie again to like really absorb everything. But women have a place and a purpose, and I don't want to put anybody in a box, because there's plenty of women who are not nurturers, and they are better off leaving the nurturing to the grandmother or to a good nanny. I was a nanny for a family, and the mother of the kids I took care of, she was a good mother and involved with her kids and stuff. But some I've talked to so many parents, moms, who they can't stand to be at home with their kids. They can't stand to spend all day with their kids. It's like, it's so hard to keep them occupied and satisfied. And don't you get bored being home all day with your kids? And I'm like, no, I can't imagine anything more exciting or rewarding than raising up a child and nurturing a child and learning. I've learned so much from kids. So it's just, to me, it's just it's the best thing in the world. And but and that's when I worked in daycare. I was glad that the kids got what they got from me. And I had a big bunch of kids, but I knew I had something very valuable to give these kids. So and I could see how they benefited from it. And so think about the Amazon, and think about the women older women, I think about what a different person, you know, I'm 51, and how much of a better person I am because of what I've been through in life. And I've tried to do that. I've tried, when I go through problems, and you know, when my therapist says I'm like one of the best clients he's ever had, because I actually want to change and do better and be, you know, make positive changes. And a lot of people don't. They don't want to put forth the effort to change, you know, challenge their beliefs and change the way they think and their attitudes, their behaviors, and so I like who I am. Delara's dad, I was not this person when I met him. That's how I came to get pregnant out of wedlock at 41 years old. My life had fallen apart, and I didn't handle it well. And so the person I am now, after I was reading about this theory of positive disintegration, where people go through these problems and then they come out better and stronger. And I explained that like to one time to Delara's dad. I'm like, I have come through this, and I am a better person and a stronger person. And it's like the $6 million man, you know, better, stronger, faster after this catastrophe. So, yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that. But I wanted Delora to know that, and Diana in this is like, she's kind of like fish out of water, and she doesn't know how things are done. She shows up where, you know, in these groups of men, and she goes in and she opens her mouth, and everybody's like, well, what's she doing in here? Get that woman out of here. So she's non-conforming. She doesn't do what people expect her to do. She doesn't even always do what people want her to do, but she does what she's good at. And then people look back and say, oh, it's a good thing she did what she did, even though it's not what we expected, or she's doing something differently than the way we've been doing things. So I want to tell Delora to do what she's good at, and don't confine herself. Don't conform. Conform to God. If you conform to God, and as far as you know what His will for you is, I just don't. I've just been chafed by all these restrictions people have tried to put on me. When the judges, they're the ones that are supposed to be restricted. They're supposed to be bound by the chains of the Constitution, and they're not. It's like this little song I wrote. The Constitution's chains have slackened, and our freedom's all but lost because of it. So we gotta have our liberty's so important. And you don't give it up. Don't be intimidated out of it. Sacrifice. This movie's got a lot of love, sacrifice. What did she say? She said, it's our sacred duty to defend the world. And it's kind of like we're all mandatory reporters. We're all obligated to contribute to the greater good. So, because our choices don't just affect us. Our choices affect, we don't even know who all could be affected by our good choices or our bad choices. And right now when I think about the foster care and stuff, there's so many grandparents who are raising their grandchildren until DCS comes and snatches them even away from the grandparents. But I wonder why that is. Why are so many did we lose a generation of parents? It's like you skip a generation. So, are they in jail? Are they on drugs? My grandmother voluntarily gave guardianship of my dad and his sister to her parents for a while, because everybody agreed, her life, I think her life was kind of unstable, and it was best for everybody. It was less stressful for her knowing the children were being, grandmother, grandfather, very stable, and she had, she paid child support. This is voluntary, but she paid child support. She still had her parental rights. My dad told me he would, it was like 5 or 6, and he said his mother would come visit like 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon or something, and he would just keep going and looking at the clock on the stove, just couldn't wait for his mom to come. And even though his contact with his mom was restricted, that was mom, and she was very important. Their mothers and fathers, they're irreplaceable. So even though for whatever period of time he was primarily raised by his grandparents, he never lost his need for a relationship with his mom. And they worked something out voluntarily for everybody's benefit, and that's what families should do. And then there again, now in this society, a lot of times there's not a grandparent available to help take care of the grandparents or helping to be a support system with the grandkids, and that's unfortunate. And I don't know how to fix it, but I told my son. He wants to be a pharmacist. He's been wanting for and I think he will be a pharmacist. But I told him, I said, you have got to pick a career where your wife will not have to work, and I want you to pick a wife who values being a homemaker. We need more homemakers. So so pharmacists, I'm like, yeah, okay, you can, if you're a pharmacist, you should be okay, and your wife should be able to stay home, you should be able to have a good living, and you should be able to help support me in my old age if I need help. So, but it's hard. It's really hard to make a living and get by on one income, and I hate that. I hate it. Let's see. Yeah, and relating, not letting other people control your life and not conforming to what other people want you to do if you think that's wrong. An example of that is my approach to this situation I'm in. When they took Delora away from me, I had not done it. Nobody had found anything to complain about. They just says, oh, well, there's nothing wrong, but we think it might be better, because there might be problems down the road if we don't change things. And they're not supposed to do that. But, that's what I say. Yeah, so then when I resist this oppression and abuse of authority and stand up for the Constitution and my rights and my child's rights, and some people, not very many, but some people say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I would do whatever they said. But they're thinking that if I do whatever they say, I'll get my daughter back. But that's not true, because nobody was telling me what to do. Nobody in court was telling me what to do. The first guardian ad litem we had, she never complained about what I was doing. This Charlie to Pie Mac Yeah, she doesn't think Delora should see me. And she's even told the judge that Delora doesn't think she needs to see me. Lie. And Charlene did. That's the first outright lie I've heard her tell. Because I thought last year when she was promoting, or last custody trial when she was promoting her Delora's dad's position instead of Delora's position, I thought she was just misled and just repeating. She got bad information and she's just repeating that. But she's outright lying now, and Delora's not going to be glad to know that. Okay. So people say, "Oh, well, you should follow this order even though it's unlawful. You should, if Delora's dad doesn't want you to say something on Facebook, or if you're not supposed to talk about court or whatever, just don't do it." But I understand that our rights are important, and I should not have to waive any fundamental liberties in order to be able to exercise the fundamental liberty of having a relationship with my daughter. And if people start saying, "Okay, well, I will give up these rights if you'll let me have this one," that's dangerous. It's dangerous for everybody. And that's why the Tennessee Constitution said, Article 1, Section 2 says that non-resistance to arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind, or something like that. And I believe that. I've seen it. I've seen what happens when you give in to bullies and when you make compromises you should not make. It hurts everybody. And then, see, when you do that, these judges and lawyers and DCS people and guardian ad litems, when you let them dictate to you what you could do, and when you give up things, they shouldn't even be asking. They're way out of line for even asking to gag you or waive your Fourth Amendment rights, or let them usurp your parental discretion. They got that power they got because people gave it to them. People gave it to them. People allowed themselves to be intimidated out of their rights. Some of them might have got their kids back. Some of them didn't. But once you start giving in to the bullies, they want more and more and more. And they feel entitled to it. And if you don't allow yourself to be intimidated, then they'll say you're crazy, or you're unreasonable. Oh, it's really bad. It's really sad when your lawyer tries to get you to compromise. And see, my defense attorney, he never pushed too hard, but he did. I told him what to do instead of him telling me what to do. And that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to get, they're representing you, but you're the boss, and they're supposed to be advocating for your interests and your desires. And I think lawyers they're just all about, what can we get you to give up? How can we get you to compromise? But it's not always appropriate or healthy or right to compromise. And but yeah, I think we've just really we have created this problem by not supporting and defending our Constitution ourselves, by waiving our rights. Yeah, I think that's what's happened, because now I see so many people doing things, and I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you let somebody do that? and control your life like that. And but there's another thing I want Delora to know. I'm very strong right now, but God's prepared me for this, and I think everybody, because I look at, you know, all these Amazon warriors fighting this great evil that's causing so much destruction and pain, misery. Connie regularly, she has her job, her mission that God's prepared her for. Terry LaPointe, medical kidnap, investigative journalist, writer. Oh man, she's awesome. She's awesome. God's prepared her for her mission, and God has prepared me for my mission. So when people look at me and say, "You should just do what they tell you to do," maybe you'll get Delora back. And I cannot do that. And I have said, I am convinced that if I compromise and give in to this terrorism, I will be sinning against my family and against God. I will not do that. 10 years ago, I probably would have. 15 years ago, I felt like I could not live if I was faced with a divorce and not being cut out of my children's lives, but just losing primary custody. And I was ready to kill myself. So that was 15 years ago. And 10 years ago, I met Delora's dad. My ex-husband got engaged and got married in 2007. And then I met Delora's dad in October 2007. I got pregnant in January of 2008. Had her in October 2008. But I was very weak. Very weak, very broken. Probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, maybe 5 years ago is when I got my head on straight. I got my priorities in order. And I was in the best spiritual, mental, emotional health of my life for like a year or two, couple of years before they started messing with my family. So I think God prepared me for this mission. And when I go in 2 weeks, when I go give my defense to Judge Robinson for I'm denying that I violated the order of protection, and I believe I can show that. But we haven't had the hearing yet. I have tried to comply with the order of protection as it was written, which is different from the way Sarah Rice is claiming it was written. So, but why am I resisting? And why have I spoken out about, why have I ever complained about Delora's dad? The reason I've complained about it is because I was in contempt in juvenile, because she's the one that told me, don't make these derogatory comments and whatever, and pretending that if I complained about the abuse being inflicted on my daughter, that it would somehow harm her. me complaining about it, not what was actually being done to her, not what she actually articulated was harming her, but me complaining about it. That's why they put a gag order on me. And I told my contempt trial, I said, I have to speak out against this. I don't want Delora, whether it's when she's 18 or whether it's next week, I don't want her to say, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you complain? Why didn't you ask for help for me? Why didn't you try to, stop them from hurting me? I want to be able to look my daughter in the eye, and I want to be able to show her everything, all of these legal paperwork I filed, every email, every text message, every Facebook post, every letter to the governor or the legislators or the guardian ad litem or Sarah Rice. I want Delora to see the evidence. I did speak out. I did ask for help. I did try to make them follow the rules. I did complain. I'm following a higher authority. So if Judge Robinson wants to say, well, I told you this, that, and the other, and even though you don't think you harassed him, I think you harassed him. I think you violated the spirit of the order. See, they're looking for ways to deprive you. Violating the spirit of an unconstitutional order, I don't even want to follow the letter of an unconstitutional order. I'm sure not going to try to comply with the spirit of an unconstitutional order, because that just empowers them and hurts my daughter. So, and you know what? I will say, I would rather go to jail. This than my contempt. I was prepared to go to jail for 260 days before I would be silent, because I do believe that when you're silent, when you know there's a problem and you don't speak out about it, I do believe your silence is interpreted as your consent. Just like these people who DCS says, I have to come in and you've got to let me come in and inspect your home without a warrant, without a court order, without any probable cause, without any exigent circumstances. And then if people say, okay, come in, I don't have anything to hide, I guarantee you, if they watch your kids, they're going to find something wrong. They will, like I said, if your house is too clean, too dirty, you go to church too much, you don't go to church often enough, you're too strict, you're too lenient, they will find some excuse to steal your kid. Because people give in and they don't allow the law to protect them. Those rights are to protect us. And we've got to stand up for them. We don't just waive them. Oh. Yeah, but I would rather, and Judge Robinson, when I first went before he did that no contact order for a year, and I told him about the abuse, about the lies, and how they'd taken Delora away, and I felt like I had nothing to lose by standing up to the oppression. And he's like, I'll show you. You've got a lot. You could be in jail. But guess what? If I was in jail, I would still get to see my daughter once a month, instead of not seeing her at all for a year. So they took away any reason that I don't have any reason to do what they tell me to do. Because they took my daughter away from me. It's not even like, I mean, if I had her and they said, if you don't do this, we'll take your kid away, maybe I would do it. I mean, it's what's the risk, what's the reward, what's the what do you have to pay? And then you get back to the Ben Franklin thing, is if you would trade liberty for security, you'll lose both, and you don't deserve either one of them. And that's true, but our Constitution is the governments are set up for our benefit. And if our governments are not benefiting us, we're doing something wrong. We need to change it. And I say, bucking the system is going to make things better down the road for everybody. And it's not going to make my situation worse. It is not making my situation worse to be arrested 5 times on false charges. It's not. What would I have to do to not get arrested? I would have to just agree to not be in my daughter's life. And I'm not going to do that, because it's not fair to my daughter. Because my decisions affect her for her life. And I'm not going to do that. I can't control what her dad does. In the short term, I might not be able to control what the judge does. But I'm not going to do something to enable them or reward them for misbehaving. I said that. Didn't I say that yesterday? Let me see here. What about that movie? Yeah, it's about sacrifice. It's about what a woman. She's protecting, defending, standing up for what's right, fighting evil. Love. Love is all through that. And it reminded me of 1 John 4:7 and 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. And if you don't love, then you don't know God, for God is love. So that's why, love, that's a good thing. That's such a good movie. That movie would be, it's just so good. Everybody should go see that movie. Even if you don't like superhero movies, you should go see Wonder Woman. Yeah, I think I said everything I need to say. That's a movie. I could tell watching the movie, I couldn't afford it. I was blessed to be able to pay $5.45 to see it, and it was very rewarding, therapeutic, very, very good for me to see that. It was very good for me to see that movie. And the 3D was like $17 or like $13 to $14 for a matinee. So, but it would be so cool. But I could tell, oh man, this would be so cool in 3D. But it's good just plain. But that's a movie I'm probably going to buy a DVD of and watch with my kids and with Shania. I cannot wait to get Delora and Shania together and watch this movie with them. It would be so good. It's just so good. Anyway, so that's about the movie. Good movie. Cried. My face was wet with tears all through the movie. From the time I saw that little girl, and I felt the tears coming when I saw that little girl, and I thought about Delora. And I was just like weeping. The credits were rolling at the end, and yeah. So anyway, that's all I gotta say this time. Delora, love you. This is July 1st, 2017. I think it's been 18 weeks since I've seen you. I hope you're remembering that last time I saw you. Be patient. Trust that God's going to work something out of this. I love you. Exercise self-control. Don't hurt people. But tell everybody over and over and over and over again what you want, how you feel, how the circumstances are affecting you. Remember the persistent widow? I told Delora the story of the persistent widow from the Bible. It's like the persistent widow went to this king who didn't have any respect for, didn't fear God or man. But this widow kept coming and saying, give me justice for my adversaries. Give me justice for my adversaries. And he's like, oh, I'd better give her justice before she just wears me out. Because she keeps coming and coming and coming. Might as well just give her justice so she'll leave me alone. And eventually, but it's persistence. And I will never give up. I will never back down. Ever. I will not be intimidated out of anything. I would go to jail. Judge Robinson wants to put me in jail. I will go to jail before I do something that would hurt my daughter and offend God. Because these court orders are harmful. And God entrusted me, as far as I'm allowed or able, He entrusted me with meeting my daughter's needs. And compromising and putting her in an unhealthy situation is not doing my job. Not doing the job God prepared me for and the job God wants me to do. And it's sacrifice. Yeah, see, there's a lot of sacrifice in that movie. And facing the enemy, whatever it costs, you be willing to, whatever you have to do the right thing. Do the right thing, even if it hurts. In fact, if it hurts, maybe it's, and that's what I tell Shania and Sharo the other day. Sharo was having his temper tantrum. And I took him to his mom's room and I said, you go in there, you sit down on your mom's bed and get control of yourself. I don't want to be around you. I'm not giving you what you want. And I put him in that room, and he tried to get out, screaming, bloody murder. And I was holding the doorknob. He couldn't turn it. He's screaming and kicking. And I was just persistent. And I'm like, I love you too much than to do something that would be bad for you. And it would be bad for me to reward his bad behavior. It would be, and I told Judge Calloway, I love Delora's dad, and it would hurt him to give him what he thinks he wants. But yeah, I've done this twice with Sharo. Like I'm holding the doorknob, not letting him out, and he's kicking and screaming and whatever. And I'm telling him, okay, Sharo, practice. I want you to listen to me. And I had a calm voice. Take a deep breath. And I will let you. You need to get control of yourself. And you come out and we'll talk, and maybe you'll get what you want. And he it took him a while. And then when he came out, I sat the kids down and I said, every time you make the right choice, it greases the skids. It's going to make it easier. It's like you're exercising these good choice making muscles, good decision making muscles. Especially if I'm not rewarding the bad behavior. So giving him a chance to get better and better. And I said, we need to start timing this. Next time he has a fit, let's time it and see how long does it take him to get control of himself. And then we can like make a chart or something and see if there should, it should get easier every time, unless there's some, unless he's, if he's extra cranky because he's hungry or sleepy or something. But if you're meeting a child's needs, they usually don't give you trouble. That's been my experience, is if there's a problem, there's an unmet need. It might very well be a need for more effective discipline, more consistent discipline, but yeah. So and the kids were really paying attention, and it was Sharo's 5 and Shanya's 9, and it made perfect. I'm like, does that make sense? And Shania's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So, and it's true. I'm 51 years old. I've been around a long time, and I've been through this. I've had to exercise my hi, I'm fixing to sign off. But I've had to exercise my good decision making muscles. And but every time you make a good choice, it's going to be easier to make it, and then you're going to be less likely. It's kind of like working out. If you're used to working out every day, and then you have a day which you can't work out, it feels uncomfortable. So if you train your will and your emotions, and you do something wrong, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You're gonna feel good and healthy and happy when you're making those good choices. So you get this, intrinsic reward, and then you're probably going to get rewarded from, the circumstances are going to be better for you if you're making good decisions. And so, but we got to get these kids. We got to. The kids are just. We got to meet their needs. If you're not meeting the needs of a child, from getting those secure attachments and just it's so important. It's so important. And that's what I was saying earlier about, the kids who they go, okay, it's when they're used to getting new caregivers all the time. It's probably, they feel a sense of loss when they lose one. So it probably, my theory is, it makes it hard. It's counterproductive for them to get too close to people. Because if you're, okay, well, I had that person in my life and got attached to them, and then they were gone in 6 months. So, and it hurt. So maybe this new teacher or caregiver or babysitter, maybe I shouldn't get attached to them. And then when we're not able to make those close attachments and trust and feel secure, I don't think we're very well prepared to have committed, good, healthy relationships. Because in a healthy relationship, you got interdependence going on. It's like if you're wanting to make sure your partner gets their needs met, and they're wanting to make sure they're meeting your needs, and you're interdependent, so everybody's needs get met. That's the goal. And we don't see that. We don't see that very much. We see people, and that's another thing, I think about, some people think it's a good thing for kids to all have their own rooms. And my daughter went to a private school. She has some friends with really a lot of money. And it's like, the house was so big, everybody was so far separated from each other. But then you look at the Brady Bunch, guess what? There were three boys, and they had a bedroom. Well, they might have had a guest room too, but they had, Alice had her maid's quarters, and then the parents had a bedroom, the 3 boys had a bedroom, the 3 girls had a bedroom. And you're used to being and interacting and being forced to, if you want harmony, you've got to be respectful of other people's needs and be compromising in areas you should be compromising. And that's one thing with Delara's dad, is he's so much of a lone wolf, and he's not comfortable getting close to somebody. He wants to be independent. Well, I've got to say, I like being independent. I don't have any desire whatsoever to get married again, have a boyfriend. I feel like at this age and stage of my life, I could do more work for God as a single person. And that's where my focus is. My focus is serving God. I don't have, if I had a husband, I would be serving my husband. And I did serve my husband when I was married. But I'm able to serve God and my family as far as I'm allowed to serve my family. And then the community or whatever I can do to help other people. And I'm not just focused on meeting my own needs. And I've got a huge support system. I've got so many friends, family, people, it's the interdependence and the community, the family. It's what's good. It's what's God created us to need. Because, God made Adam. Adam was all alone. God said, that's not so good. So he made the family. And yeah, so I just I think our society is, everything's so much focused on me. I want to make myself happy. I want you to make me happy. If you don't make me happy, then I'm going to go find somebody who will make me happy. And that's unbalanced. And we've got a whole country, it's just so much, it's just yeah, but we've got away from God's plan. I think we need to get back to God's plan. And we got to find a way to get the government out of our personal business. Yeah, it's like, you know, separation of church and state. We need a separation. We're already supposed to have it. Parents are supposed to have discretion. Parents are supposed to have immunity, control, privacy, their privacy rights secured by the Constitution. And the government's acting like they have the right to take that away from us, and they don't. And when we let them, it hurts everybody. So, okay, I've talked a long time, but I haven't run out of battery yet, and it hasn't said maximum length range. But I've got this for Delora. I think I said everything I meant to say. Wonder Woman, super good movie. And I hope someday I will get to watch it with her. Delora, if you see this before you see me, or if you see this whenever you see this, know July 1st, 2017, I love you more than I can say. And praying for you, and God's got you in the palm of his hand. And he's going to bring something good out of this for all of us. Love you.